A lot has changed in the decades since Bob Lazar first told this wild story. The Pentagon recently admitted that it really has been secretly studying UFOs and then it wanted to figure out and duplicate that technology.
Bob Lazar stunned everyone with his tales of alien technology at Area 51. He claimed insider knowledge from a hidden part called S4, where he worked on mind-blowing technology like anti-gravity reactors.
My name's Bob Lazar. I'm known for working at a classified base known as S4 out in the Nevada desert near Area 51. And there, we reverse engineered alien spacecraft.
He talked about 9 alien spaceships powered by an unknown substance called Element 115, claiming it came from space. Now that the powerful element is among us, is it active or turned off? Let us explore why this element, once activated, could start a countdown that would end our entire civilization in just days. The persistent problem of UFO propulsion technologies. For decades, stories about Area 51 have captured the attention of both people who doubt and those who believe in UFOs, placing it at the center of many conspiracy theories. One of the key figures in these stories is Bob Lazar, whose own history and the claims he makes are as tangled as the narratives he promotes. Among his most striking claims was the existence of Element 115, a substance not known to science when he first spoke about it. Bob Lazar came into the public eye in November 1989 during a broadcast by KLAS TV in Las Vegas, Nevada. Presenting himself as a scientist with insider knowledge, Lazar claimed to have worked at Area 51, specifically within an area known as S4. His story included details that sounded straight out of a science fiction book. He talked about working on an anti-gravity reactor used for powerful propulsion systems, a significant advance if true. The main point of Lazar's story was his claim to have seen 9 flying discs, which he said came from outer space, stored at the base. He stated these crafts used a special substance for their propulsion, Element 115, which was then unknown in the scientific community. Lazar argued that this element couldn't be made on Earth due to its heavy atomic weight and must have come from space. Additionally, Lazar claimed that the US government had an unbelievable 500 pounds of this alien element, obtained from these extraterrestrial crafts. This substance, according to him, was crucial to the technologies he described and sparked more speculation and conspiracy theories. This story gained a bit of credibility when unexplained lights and aerial movements over the Nevada test site were reported during the same period. Respected publications like Aviation Week and Space Technology even reported on these strange sightings, giving some credibility to Lazar's incredible story. However, as more people began to focus on Lazar, his background was intensely scrutinized. Checks into Lazar's background revealed many inconsistencies and raised numerous questions. He claimed to have degrees from top schools like the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the California Institute of Technology, yet there were no records of him ever attending these institutions. This lack of verifiable academic and professional credentials seriously undermined his stories and suggested his tales might be fabricated to capture public interest or for other hidden reasons. Despite these doubts about his credibility, the story took a surprising twist. In 2003, Russian scientists announced they had synthesized an element with the atomic number 115, similar to what Lazar had described years earlier. This development added a new layer of interest to Lazar's claims.
Element 115 is a super heavy element. The craft uses larger quantities of it, 223-gram little triangles of it. But it's a unique element when it's exposed to radiation,
providing them with a kind of scientific backing, although many still doubted his broader story, especially the parts about extraterrestrial crafts and advanced technologies. Skeptics noted that while the element's synthesis in a laboratory supported the possibility of its existence, it did little to prove Lazar's more fantastic claims, like the operational use of the element in propulsion systems or its extraterrestrial origin, as he had suggested. Despite this, Lazar's tales of Area 51 and its hidden technologies continue to intrigue and spark debate. They remain wrapped in a complex mixture of partial scientific support, unverifiable assertions, and ongoing doubts about his truthfulness and intentions. His narrative, though it includes elements that hint at deeper truths, often aligns more with myth than reality. As such, the Lazar story reflects the ongoing struggle to separate fact from fiction, a compelling mix that keeps his story alive in public discussions, despite significant skepticism. Bob Lazar, a controversial figure tied to both scientific and conspiracy discussions, once again grabbed attention when he mentioned Moscovium, or Element 115, long before it was officially acknowledged in 2016. This claim, which had initially been dismissed as fanciful, gained credibility as the element was added to the periodic table, pushing people to reconsider what Lazar had said years ago. Lazar had often been brushed off as a storyteller whose tales stretched far beyond the believable. However, the validation of Moscovium sparked renewed interest in his accounts of advanced technologies and alleged interactions with extraterrestrial beings. Now, with Moscovium's entry into the scientific community, discussions once limited to the fringes of pseudoscience, such as alien technologies influencing human progress, have started gaining serious consideration. Let's look at what Moscovium actually involves. According to Jacqueline Gates from the Heavy Elements Group at the Berkeley Lab's Nuclear Science Division, Moscovium is a super-heavy element containing 115 protons, significantly more than the heaviest naturally occurring element, uranium. However, Moscovium isn't something you stumble upon naturally. It is artificially created in the highly controlled environment of particle accelerators, and it lasts only briefly before transforming into another element. The fleeting existence of Moscovium doesn't readily inspire hopes of practical uses. Nevertheless, the scientific community is abuzz with discussions about its potential proximity to the island of stability. This theoretical concept suggests that some super-heavy elements might have much longer lifespans, ranging from minutes to years. If true, such stability could pave the way for revolutionary new technologies and materials that were previously considered unfeasible. Despite the fascinating potential of Moscovium, its creation is a rare and labor-intensive process, conducted within the complex setups of modern particle accelerators. It's a pursuit that combines the pinnacle of current scientific capabilities with the quest for a highly elusive goal. Captivating, yet perhaps not entirely practical. Moving back to the controversial claims made by Lazar, he suggests that Moscovium is a critical component in powering the propulsion systems of unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Here, the discussion becomes murky. The jump from producing atoms in a lab to using them as fuel for spacecraft is enormous and filled with logical gaps. Nevertheless, this narrative continues, driven by the exciting notion of technology that surpasses current human understanding, possibly beyond our current reach. Is it possible that Moscovium could reveal the workings of alien technology? This remains a topic of intense debate, filled with both enthusiasm and skepticism. While Lazar's earlier mentions of Moscovium have found some vindication with its official recognition, the broader implications of his statements are still up in the air, caught between scientific inquiry and speculative thought. Let's explore how Moscovium sits between real science and the exciting tales we tell. From the darkest corners of Moscoviums to Dubna, the story of Moscovium is an example of how science straddles the boundary between significant discoveries and the exciting possibilities that often run ahead of what we truly know. It highlights the human capacity to innovate and explore the unknown, while also reminding us of our tendency to create narratives that hover on the edge of the fantastic, often blending fundamental discoveries with elements of fiction. As we continue to explore the capabilities of Moscovium and other super-heavy elements, we also navigate the intricate dance between proven science and the intriguing stories we construct around the unknown. Moscovium, originating from Dubna, Russia, has sparked both curiosity and skepticism. Positioned among the heavier Group 15 elements on the periodic table, its very presence has ignited discussions, especially given its ties to the Moscow Oblast, and the nearby Joint Institute for Nuclear Research. The element symbol MC might look simple, yet it opens up new avenues and possibilities in the field of chemistry. The discovery of moscovium was marked by an ambitious experiment in 2003 at the Flerov Laboratory for Nuclear Reactions. Led by renowned nuclear physicist Yuri Oganessian, a group of Russian scientists embarked on a groundbreaking project. They propelled calcium-48 ions to a staggering 10% of the speed of light, aiming these high-speed particles at a target of americium-243. This intense collision yielded 4 short-lived atoms of moscovium, each transforming into ununtrium in less than 1/10 of a second. Though moscovium exists only briefly at room temperature and in solid form, it has generated considerable attention. Its most stable isotope, 289 UUP, endures for just about 220 milliseconds. This fleeting existence has not deterred the element from becoming a focal point of intense discussion and speculation. A particularly intriguing aspect of moscovium's story is the debate surrounding its alleged extraterrestrial connections. From its inception, moscovium has been tied to speculative theories involving UFOs, aliens, and hidden government operations. Its entry into public consciousness was marked significantly in 1989 when Bob Lazar claimed he worked with moscovium while trying to reverse engineer alien spacecraft at Area 51. According to Lazar, this super-heavy element was crucial for powering the propulsion systems of these otherworldly crafts, blending a dose of science fiction into the moscovium narrative. While some view Lazar's claims as solid proof of alien visitations, others dismiss them as mere fiction, unsupported by any substantial evidence. The scientific community has particularly criticized the practicality of creating such an element under normal earthly conditions, arguing that super-heavy elements like moscovium are likely formed only in the extraordinary environments found in neutron star collisions. Critics also emphasize the lack of tangible proof for the existence of technologies like anti-gravity propulsion, or for the alleged storage of alien crafts at Area 51. They argue that without solid evidence, Lazar's stories serve mainly to stir controversy and entertain conspiracy theories. On the other hand, supporters of Lazar's tales argue that the lack of proof does not disprove his assertions. They suggest that the government might keep groundbreaking technological advancements hidden from the public. As discussions about moscovium continue, it remains an element shrouded in intense debate and scientific inquiry. It stands as much as a product of scientific endeavor as it does a subject of human fascination. Whether seen from a perspective of doubt or curiosity, moscovium challenges our grasp of the possible, pushing the boundaries of what we know about the universe and our place within it. This ongoing debate not only enriches our understanding of the periodic table, but also feeds into larger conversations about technology, space, and the future of scientific discovery. Area 51 is known for its tight security and the government's love for keeping things under wraps. This often sparks wild theories, especially when there's not much evidence to prove these claims. In the scientific world, moscovium, or element 115, is a curious subject. It's incredibly heavy and lasts for just a brief moment before falling apart. This makes it a tough nut to crack for researchers who see it as both a challenge and an opportunity for groundbreaking discoveries. Despite its seemingly useless nature for practical applications, as it decays in less than a second, Bob Lazar stands firm on his belief that element 115 is a gateway to revolutionary technologies. He imagines that there are yet to be discovered versions of this element that could change the scientific landscape. They made just a few atoms. We'll see what other isotopes they come up with. One of them, or more, will be stable, and it will have the exact properties that I said, Lazar claims, ignoring earlier scientific results that might disagree with his perspective. His confidence could seem out of place to those who doubt, especially when he claims to have worked at the infamous Area 51, a claim he backs up by mentioning several lie detector tests that allegedly confirm his stories about hidden research and technology from another world. These extraordinary statements blur the line between fact and fiction, attracting those who lean towards conspiracy theories. Lazar also describes UFOs as not made by humans, but by beings from another world. He says these crafts are designed for very small beings, much smaller than humans, and made from a material that's different from anything known on Earth. This kind of story draws people who are fascinated by the idea of life beyond Earth. Yet, the scientific community remains skeptical, sticking to a standard where amazing claims must be supported by equally amazing evidence, a standard not yet met by UFO sightings and Lazar's claims. This reflects a broader skepticism in science, where solid evidence is crucial, and exciting stories alone don't convince experts. Moreover, bringing up Element 115 in discussions about futuristic technology and space beings shows a typical mix of hope, guesswork, and fascination with the unknown. These elements are often woven into bigger stories that remain just out of reach of solid proof. In this situation, Lazar's story might be less about revealing hidden truths and more about our constant fascination with the unknown. The tales of Area 51, Moscovium's potential, and technology from other worlds are great for sparking interest, but they struggle to stand up to scientific verification. As time goes on, the clear division between fact and imaginative speculation remains, with the scientific world continuing to demand real evidence before accepting such incredible stories. Next, let's look at why debates about UFOs and high-tech tales keep grabbing our attention. The persistent puzzle of UFO sightings. Debates over UFOs and advanced technologies from other worlds are likely to continue, driven by stories like Lazar's. However, without concrete evidence, these discussions are not taken seriously in scientific circles. They are interesting to some, but unconvincing to others. The truth, elusive as ever, leaves us with engaging tales that have not yet met the rigorous standards of scientific proof. Without concrete evidence, claims simply fall flat. Scientists often suggest a range of other possibilities for the supposed sightings of otherworldly objects. These could be anything from natural weather phenomena, misidentified man-made items, to mere optical tricks. The situation is akin to guessing whether something in the sky is a bird or a plane, but on a much grander scale. Recently, however, there's been a change in attitude. The tight-lipped approach of the military in dealing with unidentified flying objects has started to relax, and now, even governments worldwide, including the US, are beginning to show interest. The public release of military videos and pilot accounts has breathed new life into discussions about these unidentified aerial phenomena. Yet, the scientific community urges caution, suggesting these admissions only confirm that there are things in the sky that we don't yet understand. The acknowledgement of these phenomena by governments does lend some support to people like Bob Lazar, who have made bold claims about advanced technologies and extraterrestrial activities. However, scientists remain skeptical about the legitimacy of such claims. Lazar's specific claims about Element 115, which he linked to alien propulsion technology, are particularly controversial. Although he mentioned Element 115 years before it was officially recognized, there is still no proof to back up his claims about its use in anti-gravity technology. His predictions may sound intriguing, but they remain in the realm of speculation without solid evidence to back them up. Lazar's impact on public interest in UFOs and government activities regarding aliens is undeniable. His vivid stories about working at Area 51 and his early mention of Moscovium have earned him a significant following. His supporters see him as a bold whistleblower who exposed hidden truths about alien technologies. His supporters firmly believe in the accuracy of his tales, arguing that his detailed descriptions of Area 51 and Element 115 are too specific to be made up. They view his stories as reliable information amidst a complex web of government denials. Yet skeptics offer strong arguments against Lazar's stories. They question the scientific validity of his claims, the nature of the supposed anti-gravity technology, and the broader possibility of such advanced technological achievements. They also critically examine the possibility of interstellar travel, as Lazar described it. Recent Pentagon reports that describe sightings of unidentified craft with flight patterns similar to those Lazar described have made some people rethink their skepticism. These reports suggest there might be a grain of truth in Lazar's stories, prompting a reassessment of the quick dismissals in the past. However, the scientific community and critical observers remain firm in their demand for more robust, verifiable evidence before fully accepting such extraordinary claims. As discussions continue, the dialogue often returns to the need for tangible proof. The ongoing fascination with Lazar's stories illustrates the public's enduring interest in UFOs and potential government involvement with alien technologies. For many, Lazar's narrative provides a link to what they believe could be a greater truth about human interaction with extraterrestrial beings and advanced technologies. Yet, without concrete proof, these stories will remain just that, stories. The scientific community's call for rigorous evidence and the continued scrutiny by skeptics serve as reminders of the challenges in validating such extraordinary claims. As interest in UFOs remains high, the debate over these sightings and stories is likely to continue, with each new release of information being scrutinized for its potential to finally provide some answers. Bob Lazar has sparked quite a bit of conversation with his bold claims, yet when we examine the exciting ideas he presents, it becomes apparent that they might be less magical than they sound. He talks about anti-gravity, which he suggests could let us break free from the usual rules of physics, like something out of a superhero movie. Imagine being able to float around freely, not tied down by gravity, and consider the notion of traveling between stars not by flying at unimaginable speeds but by bending space itself. According to the standard rules of physics as described by Einstein, gravity happens because space bends around big objects like planets and stars. Lazar suggests that we could overcome gravity using a special element he calls element 115, which supposedly can create its own gravity field when hit with protons. This idea sounds like it could change everything we know about movement and travel, but it's on the edge of what current science can accept. When scientists weigh in, they are cautious. The idea of exotic matter, which might have a type of energy that goes against what we usually see, is sometimes discussed among physicists. This kind of matter, if it really exists, might let us tweak space to travel vast distances quickly, similar to the way kids fold paper to make 2 points meet. Physicist Miguel Alcubierre took this wild idea and suggested a way it might work. He thought up a drive that could fold space so a spaceship could travel faster than light, inside a safe bubble. This isn't just a small innovation, but a huge jump, the kind that exists more in theory and imagination than in real experiments. But we need to come back down to Earth for a moment. The real element that Lazar links to his element 115 is called moscovium, and it's not at all like what he describes. It's extremely unstable, breaking apart too quickly to be useful for controlling gravity. Also, the energy needed to make a bubble in space that could carry a spaceship was once thought to need as much energy as a whole planet like Jupiter. Even though some newer theories suggest it might not need quite that much energy, the idea of making and keeping such a bubble stable is still more science fiction than science fact. Now, let's see what happens when amazing stories meet the tough standards of science. Chasing the unknown in modern research. While it's fun to talk about these ideas, the reality is that moving from a theory to something you can actually do is a long and often disappointing road. Science, which relies on solid proof, hasn't yet shown that anti-gravity or space-folding travel is possible outside of movies and books. Even though Lazar's stories give us an exciting look at what might be possible in the future, those of us who focus on real, practical science have to stick to what we can prove. The universe is indeed a strange and complicated place, and there's a lot we still don't understand. But the gap between thinking about new technologies and making them real is huge. Talking about these technologies is exciting, but so far, it's just talk, not something we can see or use yet. The idea of changing space and time, as Bob Lazar suggested, relies on types of matter and energy that we don't really know much about yet. While scientists are busy trying to figure out things like dark matter and the quantum vacuum, actually using these concepts in real life is still a long way off. For now, we're stuck using the same old rocket engines to get into space. Maybe in the future, we'll discover new materials that could change the way we travel to other stars. Until then, though, we need to keep our expectations realistic. Bob Lazar has told some interesting stories about alien technology, but there's no real proof to back them up. His tales are fun to think about but remain unconfirmed. He's not the only one with big stories either. Take Philip Schneider, for example. He was an engineer who claimed to have worked in underground bases that held alien technology and even said he fought aliens under the Earth's surface. These claims are hard to believe and don't have any solid evidence to support them. Experts often dismiss them, but have caught the attention of those who love a good sci-fi story. Schneider's accounts, like Lazar's, are often viewed skeptically by the scientific community. The stories from both Lazar and Schneider stir up a lot of interest and discussion. However, they seem to fit better in a science fiction book than in any serious scientific discussion. They show a common pattern where exciting but unsupported claims are often brought up but fail to hold up under closer examination. Our exploration of space is bound by the physical laws we know, not by thrilling tales of alien encounters or underground bases. While these stories can be entertaining and spark the imagination, they don't currently influence our actual plans for exploring space. The potential for new discoveries in space travel always exists, but until we have something more concrete, we must proceed with what is scientifically verifiable. In summary, while the future might hold incredible advances based on new types of matter and breakthroughs, for now, we move forward with our current technology. Stories like those of Lazar and Schneider, although captivating, remind us to differentiate between fact and fiction. They encourage us to focus on practical steps in our space, while keeping an open mind about what might be possible down the line. The tale of government cover-ups and extraterrestrial antics just got a little more intriguing, revisiting a recurring theme from decades past. Back in the 1980s, Paul Bennewitz, a professional in electronics, believed he had stumbled upon alien signals while tuning into military frequencies. Driven by an unstoppable curiosity, Bennewitz dove deep into a world of conspiracy theories, convinced that there was a hidden underground base near Dulce, New Mexico. He theorized that this location was a meeting ground for sinister collaborations between humans and aliens. Yet, the story takes a sour turn when it was later uncovered that Bennewitz had been deliberately misled. The misinformation was fed to him by the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, using him as a decoy to shift attention away from their own covert operations. Unfortunately, Bennewitz's story doesn't stop with his being deceived. His experiences bear a striking resemblance to those of Bob Lazar, another well-known figure who claimed to have seen alien technology at Area 51. This repeating pattern of deception and the manipulation of individual curiosity by government bodies highlights a common narrative thread in stories related to UFOs and other unexplained phenomena. It appears these stories are recycled time and again, perhaps tapping into our natural curiosity about the unknown. Or more cynically, they might simply serve as convenient diversions for more mundane, yet equally questionable, government activities. Shifting focus to the elements supposedly at the center of these narratives, we encounter moscovium, an artificially created super-heavy element on the periodic table. Moscovium is notable more for its scientific interest than its practical use. Only a few atoms of this element have ever been produced, all confined to highly specialized experiments. This element sits in what might be called the VIP section of the periodic table, exclusive, hard to obtain, and important mainly to a small circle of advanced researchers. This discourse, weaving together a mix of half-truths and outright fabrications, demonstrates how easily fact and fiction can become entangled, especially when those in power manipulate the allure of the unknown to conceal and mislead. As the tales of Benowitz and Lazar continue to fuel the fires of popular conspiracy theories, they also act as a warning about the extremes to which some entities will go to keep their real actions hidden from public view. Moving on, we'll see how stories of aliens and bases might be more than just fun tales, the latest technology of advanced elements. These stories about underground bases and alien liaisons serve multiple purposes. They entertain and intrigue the public, keeping us hooked on the possibility of otherworldly interactions. They also potentially draw attention away from more tangible, earthly concerns, such as military advancements or weapons testing, that governments might prefer to conduct out of the public eye. As we digest these tales, it's essential to question the sources of our information and consider the motivations behind the narratives being presented. This skepticism is necessary not just in unraveling tales of UFOs and aliens, but in confronting any less than transparent activities by those in positions of authority. Moscovium is a synthetic element primarily known for helping produce other elements, like nihonium. For most people not involved in advanced scientific research, this element doesn't really offer any everyday benefits. Let's discuss a major concern about moscovium: its toxicity. Yes, moscovium is indeed toxic, and here's a closer look at why. This element is created through a process called nuclear bombardment, which is as intense as it sounds, somewhat akin to what happens inside a nuclear reactor. Moscovium doesn't occur naturally and has no known biological use. Imagine it as an unwelcome visitor that disrupts the usual flow of things. Its radioactive nature means it's expected to be harmful, possibly interfering with important biochemical processes by replacing the metals normally needed by living organisms. Thinking about adding moscovium to your meals for a bit of a kick? It's best to immediately drop that idea. Beyond its radioactive qualities, we don't know much about moscovium. The reason for this lack of information is largely due to the extreme difficulty and the astronomical cost associated with producing it. Furthermore, moscovium decays so quickly that studying it effectively is almost impossible. Moscovium's role is primarily in the world of theoretical and experimental science, aiding in the creation of other elements that, like itself, often have little immediate application. Its synthesis is a testament to human capability in the laboratory, but also underscores the challenges of turning these scientific achievements into something practically useful. The process to create it is complex and costly, and the results are fleeting, decaying before much can be learned from them. Because of these factors, moscovium serves more as a footnote in the expansive book of scientific exploration rather than a chapter of its own. It exemplifies the quest to expand our understanding of the elements, although it remains largely irrelevant for practical purposes. Each attempt to study moscovium ends quickly due to its rapid decay, leaving scientists with more questions than answers and making its practical applications a distant dream rather than a reality. In summary, while moscovium does capture the imagination of those in the scientific community, its actual use in the wider world is minimal. It's an element that's more about the pursuit of knowledge than about tangible benefits. Each fleeting existence of moscovium in the lab reminds us of our scientific reach and the limitations we face in harnessing such knowledge for practical use. The element moscovium is a tough nut to crack for scientists because there's very little of it, and little is known about its characteristics. Studying it is extremely difficult, like trying to spot a rare animal that barely ever shows up. Right now, we're mostly making educated guesses about what moscovium is all about based on our little information. In the broader world of elements, moscovium stands out not for what scientists know, but for all that they still need to find out. We might eventually learn more about this puzzling element as research moves forward. Researchers are tiptoeing around its edges, gathering what little data they can. Turning our gaze from elements to the skies, in 2020, the New York Times reported that an organization under the Office of Naval Intelligence, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, was still actively investigating unidentified flying objects. This group was previously thought to have been shut down. The article also noted that Luis Elizondo, a former director of this task force, claimed that the Pentagon had objects of unknown origin that it was studying. These revelations reignited discussions about whether UFOs really exist, sparking a flurry of debates and theories. People began to wonder again if Bob Lazar, who decades ago claimed he worked on alien technology, might have been telling the truth after all. His story, still unconfirmed and controversial, continues to draw both believers and skeptics. Jeremy Corbell, a filmmaker who focuses on UFOs, has been one of the loudest voices advocating for a second look at Lazar's claims and demanding more openness on UFO-related topics. Corbell's films and his public stance contribute to ongoing public interest in UFOs, although they also bring up questions about whether people are seeking the truth or just fame. It's fascinating to think that the government might be keeping information from the public, but it's also possible that these stories are made up to attract attention or make money. The debate about UFOs and hidden information swings between demands for the truth to be revealed and claims of falsehood. Whether seen as a brave disclosure or an elaborate hoax, the enduring public fascination with Bob Lazar's story keeps his decades-old tale alive. This ongoing narrative shows that people's desire for answers, or perhaps just the excitement of the chase, is still strong. Whether we will ever get to the bottom of these stories and what we might discover is still up in the air. Meanwhile, the conversation continues, with each new piece of information adding to the complex puzzle of human curiosity about what lies beyond our current understanding. As we continue to explore both the elemental and the cosmic, our knowledge might grow, but so does our realization of how much we have yet to learn. What do you think? Is Bob Lazar's story a groundbreaking revelation or merely a captivating tale? Like, comment and subscribe to join the conversation and share your thoughts.